what truly makes someone powerful? I mean, is it just about having immense magical ability? Or maybe it's the strict application of law?
Or perhaps, it's something else entirely, like what happens when these really old traditions just clash head on with radical change.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into some fascinating source material excerpts from Sunrunner's Fire. Our mission here is to, well, go beyond just the plot and really pull out the key insights, about power, magic, destiny. It's a really complex world.
It really is.
We want to give you a kind of shortcut to understanding the society. It's grappling with ancient traditions, but also facing down some really dangerous new threats.
Yeah, this deep dive, it really uncovers a world where you've got these powerful individuals, the Sunrunners, using solar magic.
Right.
But then you also have ancient prophecies mixing with intense political maneuvering and these hidden sorcerers who are, well, a serious threat. So we'll unpack the dynamics, the leaders, the powers involved. Hopefully showing you not just what happened, but, why it all matters so much within their world.
Okay, let's dig into that foundation then, this world. We're talking high princes, allure of goddess, keep overseeing things, and sunrunners infused into everything. How does that initial setup work?
Well, what's really striking in the sources is High Prince Rohan's role. He's like the bedrock trying to bring this fragile peace. He's deeply committed to law and order, trying to unify this huge realm, all these different princedoms, Prince March, the Desert, Sky Bowl, Dragon's Rest, lots of them.
And he does this how? Not just force?
No, not primarily. It's more through consistently applied laws and this yearly event, the Riala. That's where they all gather, debate, pass laws.
Ah, okay.
He definitely prefers peace, but the sources are pretty clear. He's also ruthless when necessary. It's that kind of measured, consistent hand that's created this, well, relatively stable period.
And the Sunrunners are key to that stability you mentioned. How do they fit in?
Oh, they're absolutely central. These are people who can literally harness fire from sunlight.
Wow.
And it's not just raw power. They weave colors, which seems to mean manipulating light energy for specific magical effects. Plus, they can communicate mentally over huge distances.
Mind to mind.
Yeah. Yep. The sources really emphasize their disciplined minds, their connection to the elements. They're guardians of the established order, in a way, a force for structure.
But as you hinted, there's another layer to the magic here. It's not just Sunrunners.
Exactly. And this is where things get really complicated. So Sunrunners use solar light, but there's this older power, the diarmadh'im, sorcerers.
Okay.
They draw power from starlight, and they have what's called old blood. It's not just a different fuel source. It's like a fundamental difference, a fault line, almost.
How so?
Well, we find out some Sunrunners have rings that actually burn when sorcery is near. Yeah. And the diarmadh'im, they get physically ill, quite miserably so, when they cross running water. These aren't just, random quirks. They're like deep-seated, almost biological markers of this conflict.
So this piece Rohan built, it sounds like it's built on somewhat shaky ground then.
Very shaky. And the sources show that despite Rohan's best efforts, it doesn't stay tranquil for long. The cracks start to appear pretty dramatically.
How does that begin? What's the first big sign?
It starts with a very deliberate provocation, a symbolic attack right at the heart of Rohan's authority.
Okay.
See, Rohan has this strict law against killing dragons. Part of it seems to be genuine affection for them, maybe a bit sentimental as some see it.
Right.
But there's also a practical side. Their melted shells yield gold. So is both principle and pragmatism.
Makes sense.
Then a dragon is found killed, brutally, impaled with these new steel spikes. This isn't just random cruelty, it's a message. A public challenge to Rohan's law, his values, his rule. Someone powerful is openly defying him.
And that act, the dragon killing, it acts as a catalyst.
A very specific one, yeah. It brings two key antagonists right out into the open.
Who are they?
Reuvel and Meron. They're sons of Ianthe, descendants of the feared Rolstra. And crucially, they're powerful diarmadh'im. They have that old blood.
Ah, the sorcerers.
Exactly. And their goal is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Reclaim their ancestral lands, grab power, stir up all the old conflicts. They want to shatter the peace Rohan built.
Yeah.
Their very presence is a threat.
And part of their power, and actually for the Sunrunners too, comes from this specific text.
Yes, the Star Scroll. This thing is critical. It's not just some dusty old book. It contains dangerous, really potent magical knowledge.
From both sides.
From both sides. The sources show Sunrunners like Paul were trained using parts of it. And diarmadh'im like Mareva actually stole knowledge from a copy Andri had. It's the magical playbook, basically, and highly contested.
And the fallout from all this starts hitting close to home pretty quickly. It gets personal.
It does, tragically so.
Yeah.
Soren, who's a skilled architect but also Pol's cousin, he gets killed by Marin during this emerging conflict.
Oh.
Yeah. And that death, it's not just another casualty in some abstract war. It makes it intensely personal for Pol, Rohan's heir. It shifts everything from politics to, well, vengeance, too.
Okay, so the stage is set, the conflict is escalating, it's become personal, and this brings us squarely to Pol, Rohan's heir. Everyone knows him as this powerful Sunrunner, but there's a hidden truth about him.
A massive one. This really becomes a study in, nature versus nurture. The sources confirm Pol is actually Ianthe's son.
Ianthe, the mother of Ruvol and Marin.
The very same, which makes Pol Rolstra's grandson. And crucially, a diarmadh'im by birthright.
So he's half-brother to the antagonist.
Exactly, half-brother to Ruvol and Marin. And this whole fact was kept secret his entire life by Rohan and Sion. It was a lie, yes, but born out of love, out of trying to protect him from his birth mother's influence, trying to stop others from exploiting his heritage.
That's huge. That changes everything about how he must see himself.
Absolutely. And it raises a really interesting question, for you listening. How does a secret like that, especially one tied to such dangerous power, shape who you become? How much does that hidden heritage fight against the identity you build through your upbringing, through your choices?
How does Pol react when he finds out?
He's devastated.
Yeah.
He feels utterly betrayed. The sources have him saying things like lied to, betrayed, deceived, and by the two people he loved and trusted and honored more than anyone.
Wow.
Yeah, he basically asks them, why didn't you tell me? Why the secret? He's completely thrown into turmoil, struggling with who he is. Is he the Sunrunner everyone thinks he is? The diarmadh'im he never knew about? Or something in between? It's the core of his personal struggle.
And just to make things even more complicated for Pol personally, there's Maeglin.
Ah, yes,
Oh.
Maeglin. So Maon, who's allied with Ruvol, uses his own daughter, Maeglin.
He uses her.
Yeah, pretty much. She's presented as this beautiful, musically talented, very innocent young woman. But it's a calculated move, a distraction for Pol. The goal is manipulation, trying to use her to influence Pol and help their own plots.
Does it work?
Well, what's interesting is Pol tries to play that game too, initially. He thinks he can use her as a diversion himself.
Yeah.
But then he starts questioning things. Her apparent innocence, his own growing attraction. He finds himself kind of getting caught in the trap he thought he was setting. It shows how tricky manipulation can be.
So with all these personal drama swirling, the wider conflict obviously continues to build. We start seeing major confrontations, right? Showcasing different ideas about power.
Definitely. A really key example is the defense of Dragon's Rest. Andrei, the Lord of Goddess Keep, plays a huge part here. He's defending the stronghold against an attack.
Okay.
And what's fascinating is how he does it. He uses what's explicitly called a diarmadh'im technique. He creates this massive wall of fire, but without using sunlight. That's a major departure from traditional Sunrunner ways.
Isn't that controversial?
Hugely controversial. He's got his diarmadh'im with him. These are like warrior Sunrunners he's trained. But yeah, it shows his whole philosophy. He believes drastic measures, even morally gray ones, are necessary. He's had visions of future wars.
Apocalyptic visions, the sources mention.
Right. And he's convinced he needs to use Sunrunner arts as essentially weapons of combat to prevent that future. He's proactive, almost ruthless, compared to Rohan's more measured approach.
And all this tension eventually leads to a direct confrontation between Pol and his half-brother Ruvol.
Yes, climactic duel at Riven Rock.
Yeah.
Pol versus Ruvol. And there are strict rules. No swords, no physical contact, just their innate powers against each other. A pure magical battle.
A test of their true nature, almost.
Exactly. And the outcome tells you so much about Pol. He defeats Ruvol, but not directly. He doesn't just blast him with power.
How then?
He uses his connection to dragons.
Yeah.
He essentially forces a maddened dragon one that Ruvol himself had injured earlier to grab Ruvol and carry him off to his death.
Wow. So he wins, but indirectly.
Right. And the sources make a point of this. They say something like, the grandson of Rolstra would have done it, killed him directly. The son of Rohan and Sion could not. It powerfully shows how much his upbringing, his connection to Rohan and Sion outweighs that darker birthright, even in the heat of battle.
And what about the other antagonists? Maron, Mireva.
They're dealt with, too, in the aftermath. Marin is killed by Andri, actually. And Mireva, the powerful diarmadh'im mentor figure, she's eventually captured and killed by another Sunrunner, Ryan. So the immediate threats are neutralized.
But at a huge cost, personally and politically.
Oh, absolutely. The immediate danger is over. But the scars, the changes, They're profound. Generations will feel the effects of this.
So after all that intense conflict, the revelations, what does it all mean for this world? For how power is understood and used? The sources reflect on this, right?
They do, deeply. Rohan's philosophy really stands out. He believes true power is about patience, understanding, acting only when you absolutely must. He even reflects on his own fear of power, saying, I don't use my power because I'm afraid of it.
That's quite self-aware.
It is. He continues, in fact, there are times when I relish it, and that's what really frightens me. That cautious approach brought peace, but it's a stark contrast to someone like Andri.
Right, Andri's using Sunrunner arts as weapons of combat to stop his visions.
Exactly. Proactive, ruthless almost. It really pushes that question for you, the listener. Where's the line between responsible leadership and dangerous control when you have that kind of power?
And Andri doesn't see his mission as over. Even with Ruval and Marin gone, he thinks he was chosen.
That's his conviction. He believes he was chosen by the goddess to receive this vision and given the power to prevent it.
So he keeps going.
Oh, yes. He knows there are more diarmadh'im out there hiding. He starts secretly using interrogation data, getting help from allies like Torian to actively identify and, well, deal with them.
Even within Sunrunner ranks.
Even those who might just have latent diarmadh'im blood. He's utterly determined to prevent the war he foresaw, using these quite clandestine, controversial methods.
Which leaves us with some really tough moral questions.
Definitely. I mean, is it ever justified to use such ruthless means for what you see as the greater good, like Andri does? And how much responsibility do people like Pole bear for a heritage they didn't choose, especially one that's hidden and potentially dangerous?
Yeah, those are big questions with no easy answers. This whole deep dive into Sunrunner's fire, it really shows how intertwined destiny, choice, and power are. How the application of power, careful or ruthless, shapes everything.
Absolutely. It's shown us how secrets echo through generations, how power is this double-edged sword, and how leaders can have such vastly different ideas about their duty and what's right.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. In a world facing prophecies of immense conflict, where the stakes are incredibly high, how much should you sacrifice? How much power is it okay to wield to try and stop a future that seems inevitable? Join us next time for another deep dive designed just for you.